Hello and welcome back to another episode of Hear the Cannons. I am Colin Hallboom, writer and NFL draft analyst for Bucks Game Day, Sports Illustrated's only website dedicated specifically to covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am joined, as I always am on Hear the Cannons, by two of my coworkers, JC Allen at JC Allen NFL and Caleb Skinner at CHS Knoll. We are super pumped to bring you an awesome episode today. But first, got to remind you, make sure you're subscribed to the channel on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast content. Like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, all that good stuff. And make sure you're checking out all of our work over at bucksgameday.com, where we are covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 365 days a year. Now, we're going to be talking about the NFL draft. Of course, we have to. It just went down. But before we do that, JC, our boy here, has got us lined up with a pretty special guest. So, JC, why don't you take it away with that, man? Tell us who we got on the show tonight.
Yeah, we've got number one in the playbook, number one on the jersey, number one in your hearts, and number one in the running back room. We got none other than Uno himself, Rashad White. Happy to bring him in. Welcome to the show, Shad. Thanks for popping on here. Appreciate you. How's everything been, man?
What's going on, man? It's cool to be on here with you guys. I like kind of being on here in my room, my setup. Look at you guys set up, man. I feel like I'm a part of the crew, man. But it's been great, man. It's been great. Obviously, the new changes, new additions we have had in the off season, coaches and things like that has been going on, and just for us to get back in the building, man, and a good amount of us in the building, learning a new offense, learning a new playbook, and doing it together. It's been great.
So I'm gonna jump into all that first, but I see a couple of basketballs behind you. Whose signature do you have on those? Are those signed or are those just play balls? What do you got going on back there?
No. I didn't have none of them signed by nobody. I just if I hoop here and there, rarely.
Okay.
Then,
I've seen you've been out all over the Magic. They've been loving your support. So I didn't know if they hooked you up with some swaggy Pablo Blanchero swag or anything like that.
Yeah, they just got me right, man. They got me right with I was trying to get a little 10-day, see if I can get a couple million from them real quick, but they said I wasn't ready yet. So I told them I'd just keep working on my game, but hooked me up with a little number one jersey, and it was awesome, man, to be, a part of the number one crew, man, which is, big shoes to fill. Penny and Tracy, man, they did some great things in that number one.
That's right, Tracy McGrady. He was one of my favorite guys. Wherever he went, he was an incredible baller. You've had a busy offseason, man. You're on the Bucks cruise with me. That was a heck of a time. You did your own little vacation there with Chase. What else have you been up to this offseason?
Man, really just been in and out, man. Just a lot of stuff, trying to handle business, trying to get my face out there more. Just trying to, in the community as well as just outside the community and life. Coming off a good year that I had. I was just trying to build on that momentum. Just trying to get my marketing game up, get my connections and resources more up, and just try to bring more to the Tampa market because, man, we big slept on out here. Players out here be slept on. So just trying to get myself in spaces that most players don't, it's rare or certain players get themselves into, but I'm just trying to start while I'm young.
Absolutely. And, you look around, you're everywhere. You just did a podcast with Chris Long. I got to say, for me, Mike Evans will always be the man of the people in Tampa Bay. But just watching you, the way you react with fans, the way you take time out of your day to spend with fans and do work in the community. When Mike Evans leaves, those are big shoes to fill, but you're well on your way to filling those shoes. Just with the stuff that you're doing, just the exposure, the give back you're doing has been awesome to see in your young career. So kudos to you on that. But you brought it up, new system, new offense coordinator, new scheme. What's going on? How's the scheme looking? You guys are starting the very early installs back in the building for off-season workouts, phase one. What is the scheme looking like? How do you feel? What's different from Dave's? Kind of talk to me about that aspect, about the new scheme you're going to be running next year.
Well, yeah, we feel great about the scheme. For us, it's been awesome. It's a lot of creativity. It's an offense that you got to know what you're doing. It's an offense that is, I wouldn't say like very complicated, Obviously, you just got to put in the time and to study it and things like that. But it's a lot of information, a lot of different certain things like formations, different motion shifts. And we all like it. We all feel really great about it. We love what Coach Lim got going on, the energy he brought, and his mindset, and just his knowledge of the game. And we obviously love how he's been conducting the meetings and things like that, and what our mindset is like. Obviously coming into this year, man. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a night and day huge difference. No disrespect to Coach Dave, but from Coach Dave offense, and it's going to be a night and day. Everybody been asking for a better run game. So over the past years, no matter the success of what's been going on and how far we've been making it and the success we had, but Coach Lim bringing all that and our mentality, running backs, wide receivers in this system, linemen, our big guys up front, we all bring a different and certain mentality and try to get that. We're going to do whatever we can to be top in run game. So, it could take us farther.
As far as the carryover, it's not the same offense, but there's some similar qualities to it. Or
Yeah.
what's the biggest difference between Dave and Liam's?
So I think it's not the same. I mean, it's a lot of similarities. It's not the exact same. We run the actual traditional. I just say the difference is Coach Dave and he came from like Shane Waldron and all of them, and
Right.
they put their own twist on it over in Seattle, and some different things that they wanted to add to it from their standpoint and their stand view and their mindset. But a good amount of it is some similarities and some of the same concepts, and a good amount of it is really really not. So I say that's the biggest thing. They both was last year was the West Coast offense, and obviously this year is the West Coast offense, but the one we're running this year is the traditional, the Rams, the Cal Shanahans, the McVays, and the things like that. So, like I said, it's gonna ask a lot out of all of us, but it's a lot of stuff that's gonna look good. That's gonna marriage up with one another, and it's gonna work. It's gonna be successful. We really feel good about it, and all of us, we just bought in, and that's the biggest thing this year. It's just
Right.
buying into everything that we got going on, and being intentional and finishing.
Now, obviously, you've got more than just Liam Cohen. There's a couple new coaches there. You've got a consistent with Skip Pete, and I want to ask you what he's been like for you having that consistency, because obviously from year 1 to year 2, you had a change at the running back position. But also just the new coaches, the Brian McClendons, the Cadburys. How have Carberry, rather, not the Cadbury, that's an Easter egg. Carberry, how have they kind of been implemented into the offense? What have you liked about them? And then again, just the carryover with Skip Pete and what he did for you, your career, pushing you in that second year of yours.
Yeah, it's been great, man. Coach Pete is Coach Pete, man. Crazy guy, but straightforward. Very honest, very truthful. Obviously, we know his a resume of some of the backs he has been blessed and honored to coach and help coach and develop. And obviously me being added to one a guy on that list, man, and obviously me still trying to build my resume and still make a huge name for myself, which in my mindset, I'm well on my way to do that. But it's been great, man. Pushes me, get beyond me. He just talks stuff to talk stuff, and that's just what you want out of a coach. Because I mean, that's just kind of how it is. But it's all good. It's all it's all good vibrations. It's all good qualities and things that he's trying to do. He's just trying to get the best out of me, I say. And then obviously, yeah, Coach B Mac. Coach B Mac is like a Southern, very Georgia guy. So he's been, but the bigger thing about our coaching staff right now, they've been very, like I said, intentional. They've been very detailed. Excuse me. They've been very like and what they trying to get out of us, man. And we really like the staff a lot. Like in Mike, Chris, a lot of guys like Coach B Mac and the receivers and Trey, Lil Ray, and what they doing, and Carberry and all them. Like I said, they very attentive to details. That's their biggest thing: details and fundamentals. They always preach. We all got the talent in here, but the details and the fundamentals is what's going to take us a long way and really the little things, what we got to do every play and what we got to do consistently, because obviously little things make big things. So
Right.
that's been good though, man. It's been good vibrations though. Like I can't really like everybody being locked in. Like that's the biggest thing. Like everybody being locked in. Like everybody excited obviously to be back, and and that's the huge thing.
You got a dog over there?
Yeah, that's my dog, man. He look crazy, man. When he just right here, like.
Oh, we love dogs. We love dogs. They're always welcome on the
Yeah,
pod.
that's my dog.
What's his name?
If it's not your dog, it's your
Apollo.
daughter. So it's both of them are adorable. So we'll take them whenever we can get them.
Yeah, his name Apollo. Bro, back up.
Apollo. I like it. So, Rashad, first of all, it's great to hear that everyone's on the same page, especially with the new coaching staff. And anyone who follows you knows you're a team first guy. That being said, I got to talk a bit about Rashad White as a runner. And man, on top of having such a successful rookie season, you really came out and blew the doors off in year 2, established yourself as one of the most versatile backs in the league. How are you planning to maintain that trajectory? And do you have any personal goals for the upcoming season as RB1 in Tampa Bay, man?
Yeah, I mean, so my biggest thing is I need to be efficient. I mean, we can call it what we call it. I'm a realistic guy. I'm a guy, I always tell myself, be in tune with reality, but I do know what I'm capable of. So we all can make excuses. We all can say this ain't that, or this wasn't that, or this ain't that, ain't been that way for me to do this or do that. But my yards per carry for me to be the biggest thing. It's been low since I've been in the league, and at the end of the day, 3.7 yards per carry in my career right now, it ain't good enough. So for me, that's the biggest thing of just being efficient. And it goes in, like I said, to a lot of stuff, but I feel like I take a lot of that weight on me. I also acknowledge that it's a lot of stuff that some people don't acknowledge and things like that. Like some people, I respect people's opinions. Like some people feel like I can't run between the tackles, and that's just what they feel. And it is what it is. But some people feel like I ain't this. I mean, I know kind of what I need to do and what I'm capable of. I also know certain things that I did last year. That if I didn't do, my yards per carry would have been up more. I would have had the 1,000 yards. I would have did this. But like you said, like me being a team player, me doing the right thing, and 3 or 4 games of me closing out games and sliding down when I break at the end of the games instead of just going to score led to me, whatever it is, what it is. But I'm a firm believer in God and his plan for me and what he got for me. So I feel like it hurt it to leave 10 yards on the table regardless. Because, I mean, it's hard to get 1,000 yards in this league, regardless if it's 3.8, 3.9 yards per carry in that range, or whatever, 3.7. But at the same time, it was for the right thing, and I believe in that. And then obviously for me, just taking my game to the next level for real is just, like I said, coming out strong, coming out fast. I got going about 6 weeks into the season, 7 weeks, 8 maybe, in that range, or 7th week or so. I need to get going early, and that's on me. And I need to make sure I stay consistent. So that's the biggest thing for me. I got like high plans, high goals, and stuff for myself this season. Obviously, because I feel like I'm capable of, and people seen it. I mean, some of the stats showed it. I see it, like yards at the contact. I was like 2nd in the league in all backs and stuff like that after Christian and things like that. And like I said, here in this market, nobody really want to like give you credit or give you your respect or your flowers. But at the end of the day, sometimes you gotta go take it. I mean, everybody wasn't giving Anthony Edwards his flowers, but look what he's doing now. Right. Now everybody, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I work in life. Like the market he played in Minnesota, he been doing this and doing that, but now look, them lights is the brightest, and he come to perform. So sometimes things obviously is given to some people, and some people just got to earn it and go take it. So I say that's the biggest thing for me. But that's going to be a huge jump this year, very huge jump. And we're doing a lot of things going in the right direction. And a lot of people, like I said, we see it all, bro. And we respect that. I respect it because that's how I was raised. But what I see ain't what's going to happen.
Right. I remember in the locker room just talking to you after Pro Bowl, not even an alternate, 1,500 yards, the stuff you were doing at the end of the year, only behind Christian McCaffrey, not even an alternate.
And a lot of stuff, dog. I mean, look, the last 7 weeks, I mean, that's where I really gained most of my rushing yards too. Like I went on like went on a huge tear. I mean, I had like 6 games or so where I averaged like 4.5 yards per carry, so like 4.3. Like, I mean, I had I forgot how many games for a minute in a row I had 100 scrimmage. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, certain stats show. I have people come up to me and interview me and say, "Oh, you get 15 yards every time you got 15 carries in the game. Y'all won or y'all this." But I don't really kind of like care. I'm like I said, y'all know who I am. I'm just big on whatever helps the team win, man. And I'm just big on doing my job and handling, focus on me as well as I think I said at the end of the year because Coach Bowles was like, when we had my exit meeting, he was just telling me about things and the steps I need to take and where I need to keep going. And he just told me keep being myself. I showed how mentally strong I was. I showed who I am as a young man, my character, and he expected me, and I'm expecting myself to make a big leap and big jump this year and whatever leadership on the team and all kinds of things. And uh, I told him I figured out like what I was for our offense, and at the end of the day, I said I'm really the tone setter of our offense. Like I set the tone. I mean, first play most times you're gonna come out and run the ball, so I'm gonna be the first person to most likely touch the ball. So I need to set the tone, and that's where we go from there. And every game, Chris would tell me, Mike would tell me, just keep doing what you're doing, keep running behind your pass. You big, you strong, you fast, and stuff like that. But like you said, man, it's all good, man. Like I said, 1,500, man, no Pro Bowl, not even the alternate, but it's all good, man. We're gonna make sure we go grab that this year for sure, though, and more.
Yeah, and building on that, Rashad, kind of what Colin was talking about, the organization in the front office seemed to kind of be looking to build upon that running game that we saw last year here in the draft. What are your thoughts on adding Graham Barton there on the offensive line, as well as adding, a guy that's going to, maybe give you some breaks in there in the backfield and Bucky Irving there in the 4th round?
Oh yeah, I mean that's huge, man. That's good. Like you said, just add Graham. I mean I see his highlights. I see what he do. His identity. The biggest thing I love from him is his attitude and the way he approach it. Because that's just the type of time I be on. I mean I talk the most stuff out there on the field. I come with it. I know people be seeing me after every play. Me and somebody in each other's face, and I'm the one that started it. So I say that's the biggest thing. And I see Graham do that a lot, and that's good. And I really love that about him because that's what you need. That's what you need out of a player, especially a lineman. But also, yeah, Bucky, man, things he could do, very skilled out in space. Like you said, man, to be able, I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to get 15 or 2,000, we see it like it's just facts. Like you gonna have to. I mean, I touched the ball 300 sometimes. Christian did that. Like, of course, that's like what you want to do. But at the same time, you want to, obviously too have people, things like that, and have guys behind you that can, like you said, give you breaks and they could go on runs and do their thing, and you could like leave them in there and let them do what they do. And that's what I did a lot too with Chase. I mean, Chase would. When he got healthy, he would spell me, and if he like broke a run or he did this, I mean, coach would ask me like, "You ready to go back in?" I was having like 2 a good series, but I would let him go a couple more plays, and that's just kind of who I am. But yeah, so it'd be great, man. I see him be quick out of space, man. Very like people say he's small or scat, but he's very compact. I see, I respect his body type and what he got going on, man, and it's just great. Obviously, a Pac-12 guy, so the last of it, so running back, so what I'm saying, like it's all due respect, man, and I like it. I mean, obviously too, and I see we got the guard out of like UTEP or whatever too, and man,
Yeah, Klein.
nasty, dog, like nasty, and that's our identity, man. This year, like we need to be violent, we need to be nasty. We need to get back, and like you said, you just look at our O line, you look at our tight ends, you look at everybody, man. We all grinding, we all working, we all trying to get to that next level, and that next peak. And for us, we talk about it all the time. That's like winning. I mean, I didn't win 8 games my first year, 9 this year. The team we got, people don't believe so. Think we'll be in that range again. I believe we could get 12 in that point, and sky's the limit.
You're gonna get these guys in trouble, man. Tristan's only one person. You got now. You're gonna get Graham Barton. You're out there talking. Graham Barton's a nasty finisher. Luke's a nasty trash talker. Cody's probably gonna be talking a little bit more trash this year. You're gonna get Tristan's on. How's it gonna contain all these people, my man?
Yeah, that's the thing too, because Tristan knew he played cool, like he played
Play
cool,
mom
we just
out there.
chill,
He's
yeah,
like,
and he don't talk a lot, just handle business, and so I thought when they know all the time, I tell them, man, I talk for you, and that's what be happening in games. Even Luke talk trash too, he get nasty, but sometimes Luke don't talk, he just let he just roll with it, and sometimes I'm just talking for him, I'm just talking to that DN like. You ain't. I mean, like, I don't know why you talking, buddy. Like, you ain't even got a pressure. Like, I mean, like, you one of the top rushers in the league. I mean, I don't know. So like, it just stuff like that, and then then Luke could get going. But it's just cool, man. It's just very good, and I'm pretty sure Cody and the
we got
size he
Baker
done put
to it.
on, he'd be more nasty. Yeah, Baker for sure talks a lot, and then the thing about it too, like Mike. I mean, he was just here first week, and he had asked me like. Like you talk what you on this year, and I said, man, you know what I'm on. I'm taking it up whole another level. So he was like, yeah, I'm out there talking too, right along with you. So Mike
Awesome.
joined, and then CG just be CG. He's the peacemaker too. Like,
Yeah,
all right,
him and
Shot, like,
Tristan.
come on, but you need that. Like, we need
Right.
Tristan, we need CG because, like, sometimes I get going, I'm really a loose screw, and they know that. Like, I'm really like a hothead when I get going. And I mean, Coach Pete know that. He even took me out of some games because of that. Because he's like, bro, you're going to get a penalty. I mean, I tell him on the sideline, it's fiery. So I tell him on the sideline, like, I don't give a hell. I don't give a damn. Like, we playing ball. Like, I ain't, you feel me? We ain't going for that. But it's just like I said, our identity and what we trying to do. And like I said, man, Coach Lim, Coach Cohen, man, he hit it on the nail, man. Like, we ain't taking shit from nobody, though, at the end of the day.
Rashad, it's hard for me to relate, obviously, not being a NFL running back or NFL player. So when you were watching the draft as a player, do you become a fan like the rest of us? Like, as soon as you hear the players' names, are you like straight to YouTube checking out their highlights, or are you just like doing your own thing and you check back on Sunday, Saturday afternoon,
So like really, I'll be traveling. So really, I got but like not my home, like I got homeboys. But I got I was traveling this draft because I had to go back home. My brother graduated from college, but like I had my boy when we about to pick, he'd call me, and he huge Tampa fan. He from out here, and I met him out here, and man, we got close, and he'd text me, bro. He'd like call me, like FaceTime me. No matter what I was doing, I'd pick it up, like, and he like, all right, we about to pick right now. And he'd tell me, and then he's really the one that'd be like, all right, I'll watch it just like that. I knew a coach. I knew the running back coach already, like from Oregon. I forgot his name, but I don't know how. But so
Coach
like I
Laughlin.
already, Coach Laughlin.
Yeah, I spoke with him the other day. He's an awesome dude, man.
Yeah. So I had already knew him. And so like I already knew like of Bucky, of course, in like Pac-12. I mean, I don't really get a chance. I don't really like watch college ball like that no more. But I mean, when you get a chance, you just know. And at the end of the day, like you gain respect, game. But when I seen it, if I was by TV and I was able to turn the draft on, they'd show highlights, and I would just be like, oh yeah, man, like he got a lot of potential, man. He athletic, you respect game, so. That was the biggest thing, bro. And you just see. And then I just know the mentality of our team. And then I think Tampa's like this coaching staff or whatever. A lot of people like out the years, I be seeing them. They be giving them like shit. Like Bows get a lot of hell. Like, I mean, like Bows don't get the respect. But I mean, you just see the development of the players, though. Like, I mean, look at the leap like our second year players made. And so like last year, and so like, and that's what he harp on. Like, every year obviously you got to get better. So, and we work towards that. We got like a lot of hungry dudes, like under the radar dudes on our team, and we just want to grind, bro, and play for one another and make a name for ourselves. Stop.
Yeah, and Rashad, you mentioned already kind of this market, like it's not so easy to get your flowers. You just talked about how Todd Bowles maybe doesn't get the respect he deserves developing talent. Looking back to last year, man, you guys were completely overlooked coming into the year. You proved everyone wrong. Are you surprised, and I don't even know if you're aware of this, that the Atlanta Falcons are favored to win the NFC South this season, despite not even making the playoffs? Meanwhile, you guys are returning all your key pieces, coming off a divisional round appearance. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really not surprised. I mean, like how I look at life, like everybody, like and like I said, I mean, I don't want disrespect. I respect game. Don't get me wrong, but it's like we live in a world where it's about like I don't know when you got that media factor behind you, or you got like a certain name, big names, and sometimes big names or whatever, or like you said, just the market that you in. Sometimes you kind of like overlook a market that, and you don't pay attention to the production of certain other guys, which is all good. Like it's no Denny. Like everybody earn what they earn. Like I'm not saying that. You know what I'm saying? Like um, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I didn't earn like a Pro Bowl. We can say what it is, but that's how I feel. Like, do I feel like I should have been? Yeah, but I mean, obviously I wasn't in. I'm not the guy that's voting or whatever. I'm not the people that's this and that. So put me in. So I didn't really, for me, earn it. But I mean, I'm not really surprised. Do I believe they're gonna win it? No, not at all. Like, just being honest, and I'm not sitting there on here finna get into all that, but do I feel like we the best team in our division? Most def. And obviously that's just facts. Like and what we got going on. Do I feel like we match up against anybody? I mean, like that's what I'm saying. To me, I'm saying anybody. Am I taking our guys over anybody? Yes. And that's just not because I'm being biased because I'm on the team. That's just facts. Like, I mean, I look at the guys we got outside. Like we got two guys. We got some young guys up and coming. Took a step. Lil Ray Ray. We drafted another guy, another wide receiver. We got DT. We got our little gadget guy. I mean, you just see it in certain things. Like look at no disrespect, no knock to Tutu, but DT reminds me a lot of Tutu. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we running that kind of offense. Like, you give him certain little touches in certain little areas. He also can run some routes and take the top off speed. And we got a lot of like athletic guys. And then I look at our defense, and I mean that just goes to show like really what we got going on. And we got, like I said, a lot of guys that's on the radar. So I'm not surprised at all. Like I said, if I was people betting, I don't know if I can even comment on that. Trust me, I wouldn't.
Just leave it alone.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet with them, but
No,
it is what it is.
he doesn't bet at all, man. If anyone's,
Yeah.
he doesn't bet.
Yeah, I don't get into that. I mean, but they can check records and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, they can already know though. Like you can check my phone, you can check my records. I don't need to bet. I don't need to bet. Like I ain't into that. I ain't trying to. I don't get into that. Like you know what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, I'm just telling you, don't waste your money.
The disrespect is crazy because you guys finished 10 minutes away, less than 10 minutes away from the NFC Championship game. You really dropped three games you probably should have won. One against Stroud, him going down the field. And I mean, he's just a stud, man, but we'll get into that another time. And then the Niners went to the Super Bowl. You had their number all game. Just a little unfortunate things here and there, and you guys didn't pull away. So, the fact that people are still sleeping on this Tampa Bay team when all you've done is kept everybody and made additions to it is I'm with you there. I think it's crazy. I think Caleb's got one more, and then we'll get you out of there. I'll have you promote some of your stuff. Always appreciate your time, man. Caleb, go ahead. Rip it up.
Rashad, just one more question for you from me. There's two significant quarterback picks in this draft. First, your former teammate there at Arizona State, Jaden Daniels, heading to the Washington Commanders, and then Atlanta really shocking pretty much the entire NFL world and taking Michael Penix Jr. there with the 8th pick. What are your thoughts on both of those guys and, where they're headed?
Man, I like J5 to the Commanders, man. I was kind of saying that all offseason, man, that that'd be a good spot for him, man. I see what they're doing. I see what they added and what they build around him, but they have built it around him in the draft. I know a couple guys already. I was there. They came out with me. We trained together. We did stuff together. We formed a relationship, a bond, like guys like Jahan Dotson, Brian Robinson, B Rob, and guys like that. So I already knew then. I mean, me and Frankie Louvu, thank God he's out of Carolina.
Right.
But we got the same agent, so I see him a lot in the off season. We talk a lot. We both respect each other game. He basically like a big brother to me. So I was happy he was gone, but I see they added him, man, and he not even his game need to be respected more. Not even like I'm saying being biased because we got the same agent, but you just look at the numbers he has put up the past few years, man. It's been insane, man. And you see a guy like that. Then he playing next to Bobby Wags, and they got another. I mean, I just love what they did, man. That's what they did. Got a lot of weapons. Got 2 running backs in the backfield. They added Eckler, obviously. I know Eckler, and we talk here and there and stuff like that. But and it's been amazing. So I'll say that's a great spot for him, man. And the NFC is very wild, so you don't know. I'm not saying they're gonna win a division, of course, but they have a chance, probably most likely at a wild card spot. And you know what I'm saying? And and build in a few years. You don't know how really good they'll be, but I know he's gonna do his thing. And man, he's so talented, man. And I was just so proud to see him go number 2, bro. It was like amazing to me. And then Atlanta Michael Penix. I mean, I don't even want to comment on that, man. And no even knock to that, or not trying to even start nothing out there. People gonna say, "Oh, Rashad White was talking this like that," but I mean, like, I think Michael Penix is a baller for sure, and that's just facts. But I just thank Atlanta for what they did. Thank you, Atlanta.
I'll say it for you. They just signed a quarterback, gave him $100 million guaranteed over 4 years, and instead of drafting one of the best edge players in the draft to round out that defense, they took a quarterback. Which again, Penix I think is great. He's a Tampa native,
Yeah,
but
he's nice.
I'm right there with you. I'll thank Bucks fan on Bucks Nation on behalf of you. Thank you to Atlanta as well. So yeah. I heard something crazy. I heard a little TG comparison for you.
So I mean, I was just walking, talking to Mike. I mean, me being a tall running back. I mean, I ain't gonna lie to it. And shout out to Caleb Williams, man, he'll baller. But if we stand next to each other, I don't believe he's taller than me. But that's just me. Like, who knows? But I don't believe that's and the height thing would be crazy to me. But yeah, me being a taller back, I get my height done every offseason too, since the NFL listed me at 6 foot. Like, I'm like, that's no way. But with me being a taller 6'1" back, or what I would say 6'1" or 6'2", in that range, I'm in the middle of that, in that range. I mean, Mike and we were just talking, and they were just like, they would say that, and we obviously the offense that we run now is I mean, TG did some great stuff in this offense. So they were just like kind of like trying to figure out who I remind them of. I get a lot of, I get TG. I mean, Skip always compares me in the training staff because they was with our trainers. They was with Chicago for a good minute. Bobby Slater and them, and they always say I remind them of like Matt Forte.
Love Matt Forte.
And Skip coached him or whatever he said, and then I mean I get like Matt Forte, and now I get Le'Veon here and there.
Le'Veon's a big one.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is, man. I just try to be Rashad White, and hopefully kids grow up, and I get more kids this year like I had last year, man, saying they whatever. I help them out, and me helping them out in fantasy makes them love me, then I do what I need to do, man. Help them win a championship in fantasy while I'm trying to win a championship in the NFL. But at the end of the day, just make them love me, man, and make them say, like I'm their favorite player. I want to be like Rashad White. Somebody next running back coming up, maybe tall or something, play got a good game, and they can say, well, you remind me of Rashad White. So that's what I look at.
Master of the segue there, because going into that, you've got a chance to do that with a bunch of kids here in the Tampa community and the Kansas City community where you're from, with a couple camps here. Wow, what a great segue. Thank you. Just talk to us about those camps you got running here. I'll be down at the Tampa one with my boys, so I'll see you there for sure. But not only that, this is a guy. My son played tackle football this spring, and I show up to practice with my kid, and Rashad's there. I'm like, what the heck is Rashad? Did I call him to come through? And he's sitting there taking time out of his off season, going with each age group and talking to them and taking pictures of them. And, that's the type of guy he is. My son's like, I love Rashad White, so all the kids are all crazy about you there. So, I mean, you're already doing it. The next wave is loving you. Talk about these camps you got going on.
Yeah, man. I mean, really, it's just a huge way to give back. I just think about it how I was when I was a kid, man. And, I wanted guys to come back, or I wanted guys to kind of come around and do something like this. So the biggest thing for me is, always, of course, like being from Kansas City, Missouri. I mean, I thought my first camp for sure should be back home. And, obviously I got the link in my bio for kids and people back home to sign up and do their thing. We also doing a couple other little events out while we out there, like YMCA, like meet and greet and just certain things like that. The mayor be out there just trying to have certain things and just give back to the community, certain other little things that we giving back. We also like the Negro Baseball League and stuff like that. It got started it's huge in Kansas City. So with the Monarchs and stuff like that. So we're doing something with the museum with some kids and things like that. So, I mean, just for me to be able to be in this position, be in a spot to do things like that, give back. And like you said, have kids after whatever I'm doing with them, spending time with them, hanging out with them, and say they love me. But to me, the biggest thing about it is just the simple fact of just making someone's day, and to make kids and parents' day, make them happy, man. Let them get outside and enjoy a day outside, and enjoy run around, compete with people their age, and just pass the football game and the knowledge forward, man. It's just huge for me with my camp. So obviously, like I said, I'm doing the one back home like June 1st, and that's Saturday, and then I'm doing the one out here. It's like in the summertime, so we said during the week. I mean, it's gonna be hot, but I'm gonna be out there with y'all, and I'm gonna be out there grinding, sweating my butt off too, with my little towel and running around, and just like I said, trying to get the kids a good experience, the parents a good time, and to some time off, because I know how it be with a kid, and what I'm saying, sometimes how it be. But that's the biggest thing. Just be able to get back, make kids' day, make families' day, and have the honor to be in this position is really the huge thing. It's really not about me. Really, it's more about, like I said, passing the game forward, and making a bright spot in the kids' day, and for them to enjoy a day out with a guy like me.
Yeah, and we'll drop those links, both of them in the chat. I'll also be promoting them as well on my Twitter page. And just to go off what you just said, we're on the cruise together. It was my son's first victory. His first game. I wasn't able to be there. And you don't have to do these things. You can be like, no, I'm schooling or whatnot. But you took the time out of your day to record a message from my kid. It was really funny. It's like this. You're like, this is Doug Martin. No, I'm playing with this. Rashad White. It was really
funny when I made that joke. Yeah, man, it's all love, man. You just gotta, I mean, that's what life's about, man. It's showing love, man, and passing it forward, man. Like, you just never know what kind of impact you can have on somebody's life, man, by just showing them different things, and obviously people look up to us as this certain figure, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just like to show people like I'm human. I'll be, like I said, doing stuff, y'all know that, out in the community. And I mean, like, I just want to be showing people like I'm human just like them. And, like, you can speak to me, man, and you can, whatever it is, like, that's just how I live my life. And my mom be on me, like, be careful, be this, but, I just got a certain plan for me, and certain way for me in my life, man. And I truly believe that. And, I just walk by faith, and I like to live with no regrets, and I like to not take nothing for granted. So,
where can we get that shirt?
It's from this company called like 500level.com, but I got some shirts actually on the way for me right now, because I got like a logo. So I got a logo of my guy.
Flag dropping soon.
Shout out to my guy like Sammer, Sammer Ali, and
we know
there.
Sammer, yeah.
So shout out to him, man. He really good at design and very good artist. So I gave him like some logo designs, man, and he hooked me over this. So we got some like trial runs coming up. But yeah, I'm trying to get into some merch and things like that. But shirts like this is like 500level.com, and they got all kinds of stuff on there of me. Just type in my name, obviously. It'll be a lot of like shirts and stuff like that popping up. Team be on me all the time about like, where my shirt at, where this and that. So we trying to get to it.
There we go. We got to keep a lookout for that swag. Check out that website. Go get your own some swag right now until his swag's on, and make sure you guys check out that camp. Rashad, thank you so much for spending time with us. It's awesome to hear you speak about everything, man. Just the offense, about your life experiences, about giving back. You truly are a blessing to the Tampa Bay Bucs and the community. We're super excited for you for this season and your continued success. So I appreciate you coming on here, spending some of your time with us tonight, and we'll definitely talk soon, man.
No problem, man. Thank you guys for having me. And yeah, I'll see y'all soon, man. I'll see y'all soon.
All right.
The whip is in 2K.
Huh? Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. I got to. No, sure.
There you guys go. Rashad White. Just an incredible guy, obviously
Amazing.
A great player, but he's just a great guy as well, giving back to the community, whether it's here in Tampa Bay, whether now it's in Kansas City where he's from. Just an awesome interview always too. He brings the passion, he brings the juice. We're only supposed to go a certain amount of time, but then he just gets in the zone and he just goes. So I thought that was a great interview, guys, and thanks for the amazing questions that prompted some great responses.
Man, I've had the I had the chance to interview Rachaad one-on-one following the Buccaneers divisional round playoff loss in Detroit. That was my first time interviewing him, and he was so generous with his time. Obviously, he was probably not wanting to talk to the media at that point, but he did anyway, and he gave me a number of minutes. But sitting down talking to him tonight in that interview, I'm blown away by how mature of a perspective he has for being such a young player. Like, the amount of time that he directed the conversation back to like the youth and him trying to be available, and he doesn't want people to think they can't come up and talk to him. Like, he is truly a man of the people, and I think it speaks to what Jason Light and his staff have been talking about in the draft and how they prioritize character so highly. And I think Rashad White, hearing him talk, it's just such a genuine example of that. And you can see what Jason Light and his team are looking for. And Rashad White epitomizes that. So what a great leader for the Buccaneers to have, for Bucky Irving to learn from, before we, get into some more draft talk before we wrap this show up.
Yeah, Caleb, what were your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, he's like, everything that he talks about, that Rashad talks about, is exactly how he lives his life. Like, he doesn't just talk about it, he is about it. So that is super commendable on his part. And then just being able to give back, accepting those that he's around, is just huge, in my opinion. Especially when people do doubt him. Like, is this the guy, like, on the field? He doesn't, let that bother him. He's still going to be himself off the field. And that's very commendable on his part. And like Colin said, Jason Light and Todd Bowles and the whole front office talks about the type of character, the type of guy, in the culture that they're trying to build or have built and are trying to maintain and keep up. Rashad White is part of that, and one of those guys that is considered him of a Levante David type mold. So we love that, and being able to speak to him here was a great pleasure, and I look forward to doing it again.
Yeah, for sure. And, we'll definitely have him back on maybe before the season. He's always willing and gracious with his time. Let's run through some draft stuff, guys. I don't know if we're going to be able to top that, but let's run through some draft stuff. We'll quickly touch on Graham Barton again, because we already talked about him. I'm just going to read my review, my write-ups on him to kind of, if you guys haven't heard about him or just want another perspective, I'll read that through, and then I'll have the guys react to it. Graham Barton, obviously at Duke, 6'5", 311, 4.95 40, super athletic, finished with as the number one center to come out since 1987 as far as his athleticism score. You move him to guard, he's a number 2 guard. But explodes out of his stance, plays with balance and positioning to sustain blocks, has great grip strength, blocking to the whistle, and the athleticism. Quick feet to be a factor against speedier rushers and pulling in space. However, he has less than our ideal arm length, which is why he's moving inside. Can get a little bit grabby. I think he had 14 penalties over the last 2 years. Needs to do a little bit better job of anchoring against power, but I think he was a heck of a pick for the Bucs. I don't think they expected him to be there. I didn't expect him to be there. So landing him, I think, was just a great ability to improve the interior of the offensive line, whether he plays at center or guard. Colin, what are your thoughts on the pick? I know we kind of touched on it, but just to recap it, what were your thoughts on this pick here for the Bucs?
Love the pick. I love what I've heard from him in his interviews. Duke produced that thing following him along during his draft day experience. I thought that was fantastic. Obviously, again, not to beat a dead horse, but like, high character dude, highly intelligent and very articulate the way he talks. So that's always just a bonus. I mean, first most athletic center in the history of since 1987. Okay, we'll take that. Right. Dude looks and is built like Ali Marpet, reminds Jason Light of Ali Marpet. I mean, that's tough to beat. One of my all-time favorite Buccaneers. I said it on our instant reaction show. And then he says he's got the personality of Tristan Wirfs, I think he said the nastiness of Ryan Jensen. I mean, like, come on now. That's just a smorgasbord of trench warfare, and I love to see it, for one. So yeah, man. And then, for anyone, I think of Graham Barton as a pretty safe pick. I think he has a high floor and a high ceiling. Okay. The athleticism speaks to the ceiling. The reason I think anyone might have been down on Graham Barton is because you had to evaluate him at tackle, because he's been playing tackle at Duke, because he's by far their best lineman and their most athletic player. However, obviously the suggestion is, which the Buccaneers are going to make true, is kicking him inside to play center or guard. Sounds like center. So I think a lot of maybe the flaws in his game that may have shown up on tape would be exposed for the same reasons he's not projected to be an interior lineman in the NFL. right? Primarily that arm length, his athleticism, his grip strength, his power, his ability to get out in space and run block, okay, to recover. Like Brandon Thorne did a deep dive on some of his tape. For anyone who doesn't know, Brandon Thorne is like the certified O-line guru.
Yes.
For Bleacher Report, he's fantastic. But they really focused on how well he could recover once he loses his leverage. So there are just so many things to like. And I think the future is extremely bright. I think the upside is through the roof for this guy. He's going to fit in seamlessly. And the gentleman we just spoke to, Rashad White, should be extremely excited about some of the lanes he's going to have to run through this season.
Yeah, Caleb, what are your thoughts on bringing in big old Graham Barton? I know we touched on it, but it's kind of revisiting it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard, to go off of what you guys said, but the big thing is why was he there? How is he there? We saw a big run of probably 6 quarterbacks taken within the first 12 picks of this NFL draft, which is pretty much unheard of. So like seeing that happen pushed a lot of those guys that might have been taken there, you made everybody's boards fall backwards a little bit. So then you saw a run on offensive linemen, and then Graham Barton's there for the taking at 26 overall, which is fantastic for the Bucs and what they need. And, he was being evaluated at O tackle, and that's probably where you kind of got some hits on him. But if you go and look back at his film, he stood up against one of, if not the best edge rusher in this class in Jared Verse. And that's some of his best film that he was able to put on tape last year.
He did so sick with flu-like symptoms, taking an IV, and with a strained MCL too. He told us afterwards.
It was Jared Verse's lowest graded game of his career. Let's if that says anything about it. So that is fantastic to be able to get a guy like that, to be able to move him inside on the offensive line, whether that's guard or center, is going to be fantastic. And, you'll be able to put together a pretty solid offensive line and improve it. And like Colin had mentioned, Rachaad should be loving that, especially with the passion that he's able to bring and the love of the game. So those are all things that are heavy hitters that we wanted in a guy on the offensive line, and Jason Licht and company were able to go out and get him at the 26th pick. And that is just fantastic.
Yeah. And Rachaad was definitely a fan. He posted a smiling emoji after the pick was made. So he's definitely a fan of that. 2 more things on Barton real quick. I spoke to his position coach, and one thing he told me is this guy is like a perfectionist, right? So they're at Duke. They're going on a 10-play drive for a touchdown. The second play of the drive, he's got bad hand placement. Doesn't affect the play, right? The quarterback's not sacked. It's not a pressure. It's just bad hand placement, and he didn't get the block on him the way he wanted to. They go down the field, score a touchdown. He comes off the field. He's pissed off. Peed off. Can we say pissed? Did we determine that the first time? Whatever. Anyways,
deja vu.
Anyways, so he's like, Graham, what's the matter? He's like, that second play of the drive, I didn't have good hand placement. He's like, we scored a touchdown. So that's just the kind of guy he is. He's a perfectionist. He's going to always try to give his best and be perfect out there. Another thing, that he told me is, the coach would be out there with the rookies trying to get them up to speed. Graham would come over to him like every 5 minutes, be like, Coach, I need this, I need that. Coach me up some more, So he's just like a coach's dream out there. He's going to be a heck of an addition to this offensive line, whether that's inside and outside. And, we'll see where he plays. Obviously they drafted him at center. John Spytek, the assistant GM, came out on day 3 and spoke with us and said, look, he can play guard too. And I think there's a real scenario where if the best 5 is Hainsey at center and him at guard, that could be a possibility. Obviously they want to try to get him at center because they want some more size in the middle. But if Sewell, Pito, Ben Bredesen, and Elijah Klein, who we'll get into later, can't win that left guard spot, and the best 5 is him at guard and Hainsey at center, that might be a possibility. But they attack the trenches. That's what you need to do, right? You get your interior lineman. And we all talked about this. Edge rusher is their number one need, a premier one. They didn't have the chance to get one, but they still got one in the second round at pick 57 with a guy like Chris Braswell from Alabama, 6'3", 251, 4.6 40. This guy, I wasn't too high on him as far as, thinking the Bucs might draft him. He was on my list because he did have an informal meeting with the Bucs at the combine, but I was higher on Adisa Isaac and a guy like Marshawn Nealand, who subsequently went right before them. The Cowboys traded out of 25 right in front of the Bucs. and they're going to rue the day that they didn't get Graham Barton and stay there. So what they do, they draft Marshawn Nealon, who the Bucks had in for a 30 visit and formal. And they're left with Chris Braswell, who they had right there. Coach George Edwards said that's about right where they have him. He's got an explosive first step, natural strength, not overly fast, but has the pursuit speed to track down ball carriers. He's already comes with an array of pass rush moves in his toolbox at his disposal. He displays effective speed to power, knocking even the biggest blockers back. However, he doesn't always play with great technique, has an inconsistent anchor setting the edge, doesn't have great bend to turn the corner. He had 55 snaps in coverage last year, but doesn't have a lot of experience. But he finished up his junior year with only 2 starts, by the way, with 42 tackles, 10.5 for a loss, and 8 sacks. So and he led the SEC in pressures there with 56. So still a guy who can make an impact on the game. And we'll see kind of where he comes. John Spytek said on day 3, again, I'm going to reference him again. He said, you love those speedy guys who can turn the corner and get to the quarterback on a consistent basis, but there's something to be said about guys who have the power to knock tackles back. We've got one of the best in Tristan, and if you can't give him any power, he's just going to move laterally because he's got the lateral athleticism to just take you out of the play. So, you need those guys who have the power to knock guys back. Caleb, what were your thoughts on this pick here for the Bucks?
Yeah, the thing with Chris Braswell is he didn't really get a whole lot of playing time during his first 3 years at the University of Alabama. But the one thing that you can commend him on is that he did not decide to enter the transfer portal like a whole lot of other players would have done, which is, new age college football. If I'm not starting, I'm not getting this playing time. I'm going to go elsewhere so I can get my playing time, increase my draft stock, do whatever I need to do, make more money, whatever it be. He decided to stick it out. Only got 2 starts, but wreaked havoc when he was in the game, right? So a very situational pass rusher, a guy that is really going to come in for the Bucks and be that elite pass rusher. He's not going to be an every down edge for the Buccaneers, but the high ceiling that he has playing in a 3-4 scheme is super high, and that's what you really like. And like JC mentioned, he possesses a very versatile skill set of pass when he is pass rushing, whether that's using his speed or using his power or whatever moves he needs to do to be able to use his skill set to get to the quarterback. So there's a lot to like there. Like I said, the ceiling is there and it's very high, but he's going to be more of a situational guy there for you, in my opinion. But I like the pick. Don't love it. Would have loved, Nealon to be there. But I think Chris Braswell has the potential to be, even better than what we've seen thus far in his collegiate career. And that's up to if he accepts that development into becoming a true, every down guy. He has the potential to do that, but not right off the bat.
Yeah, Colin, we'll go to you real quick, and then I'll flip-flop between the next couple picks and get your thoughts on both of them. Colin, what were your thoughts on Braswell in the second round?
Yeah, I think you guys hit mostly everything. I mean, one thing I think is important and is just he plays really hard all the time, like just relentless competitor. So you love to see that. Criticisms maybe, well, he didn't truly take a hold of that starting role even this past year. Well, the production he managed in the amount of snaps he got on the field is pretty dang incredible,
right?
Considering that. So who are we to assume that this guy's best days aren't in front of him, man? Maybe he's one of those guys who's really going to blossom in the NFL. Now, the big thing with him, he has all the tools on paper, but you don't necessarily see them translate on the field. And that's something that I'm hoping that the Buccaneers coaching staff, Casey Rogers and the rest of those guys can really get out of him is, refining his arsenal of pass rush moves and counters and just finding a way to really maximize the athletic gifts he has, because there's no reason his ceiling couldn't be higher than we think. But generally, JC, similar to you, I wasn't like pounding the table for Braswell. The only other thing worth mentioning, though, is like the next, I believe, I'm going off memory, the next edge rusher was Jonah Ellis, taken like 20 picks later, unless I missed one when I wasn't
a fan of him
either. Exactly. So, but I think Braswell's quite a bit better than Jonah Ellis, in my opinion, on my board. Right. So if they were going to get a guy who is at least going to be potentially starter worthy, Chris Braswell definitely has the potential to be a starter. So I think that was the spot they had to do it. Maybe not the sexiest pick, but could become that if they can get some of the gifts this guy's got in his toolbox rolling.
Yeah, I think, and the biggest thing too, you look at the room next year, JTS, his 5th-year option was declined, so he'll be a free agent next year. Anthony Nelson will be a free agent next year. Randy Gregory will be a free agent next year. At the very least, I think the Bucs recognize that this is not a game plan guy, a premier guy, but we'll have him and Yaya, Marquise Watts, Jose Ramirez, if they make the team or stick around in the practice squad next year to round out with a premier guy. He'll have some more money to spend in the cap space. Well, we'll jump over to the third round. One of my best fits that I had picked for the team. So 1 of 2. And Tykee Smith, Georgia safety, nickelback, really, from 5'10". He's from Georgia. He's 5'10", 202, 4.46, 40. So he's got the speed. He played the star role at Georgia, acting as that big nickel linebacker, doing his best work near the line of scrimmage. He's a tremendous tackler, great football IQ, the ability to stick with tight ends and big slot receivers. He displays great instincts with the patience to read routes and combinations in the quarterback's eyes to make plays on the ball. However, because of his height and frame, he has coverage limitations and can struggle taking routes deep. He ran very well during testing, but his long speed and recovery speed are lacking. He can be over aggressive sometimes, going for those big hits. Finished his senior season with 70 tackles, 8 for a loss, 2 sacks, 6 pass breakups, and 4 interceptions. Had a formal meeting and an official 30 visit. Guys all over the field. And he's a coach's dream. I talked to his position coach, Fran Brown, said he's a coach's dream. You tell him how to do something, he's going to do it once. He's a leader in both by example, and he's not afraid to pull guys off to the side. He's had a tough road to get here. Obviously, tore his ACL, and it took him a while. He was down in his thoughts, and had to get pulled out. Coach Muschamp was really hard on him, but really, really smart football player who Bowles is going to be able to use all over the place. And Coach Rapone told us that he'll be cross-trained at strong safety as well as nickel. Colin, coming back to you, what are your thoughts on Tykee Smith in the third round?
I like the pick, and I think he kind of plays like a bat out of hell. Like, this dude is aggressive. Like, he's got Jordan Whitehead isms. He's got Antoine Winfield isms, if that makes sense. And coach's dream, Todd Bowles has all the connection to this Georgia football team. His son's on it. So if he wasn't a coach's dream, Todd Bowles would know about it, and he wouldn't be sniffing around, let alone be so eager to draft this guy
right
earlier than a lot of, prognosticators expected. But people connected in Tampa. Props to you, JC, for nailing that as a best fit. I think it is a great fit. And I think Todd Bowles is more equipped than anyone to make that determination alongside, of course, with the front office. I think he's going to fit in really well, man. I think the way that Todd Bowles is so creative and likes to blitz people from everywhere and move pieces around, this kid's going to be a chess piece for him. And all of a sudden, whether you count him as a safety, a corner, like he's playing that nickel role, he's got safety experience. You just mentioned he's going to be cross-trained at strong safety. That's quite a little circuit you got there between Whitehead, Winfield, and him. So I really like the depth and the versatility that exists or is developing. Outside corner is a question mark, but those safety spots or safety caliber players, feeling really good about that. I think Tykee Smith is going to fit in right away. And I think he's the type of guy who can come in and make an impact immediately. I think he's going to see a lot of playing time. I think there's a really good chance he's going to be positioning himself to start in the nickel, maybe over at Christian Izzy. We'll see. I love the competition to determine who's going to start that spot. So just a few of my thoughts there on the selection of Tykee Smith.
Yeah, Caleb, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. Really, everything that you guys said. He's aggressive, knows where the ball is, ball hawk guy. He's a little undersized, but obviously Todd Bowles is not afraid to go after undersized safeties. Obviously, with Antoine Winfield and Jordan Whitehead, not the biggest of dudes, but they know where the ball is at all times, and he just fits in right to where they are. And if you look at his special teams film, guy is a willing blocker on special teams, so you could also see him there if he's not getting all that much playing time there on the defensive side of the ball right away.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a great pick for the Bucs. He's going to compete down in that nickel spot. It's going to be a battle. You look at who's down there. Christian Izzy obviously started last year as an undrafted free agent. They brought in Tavier Thomas in free agency. They have a guy now in Tykee Smith who excels down there. Plus, some of the corners and safeties they brought in undrafted free agency, that probably should have been drafted. A guy like Chris McDonald and Wisdom, the safety, Rashaad Wisdom, I think his name. These guys are going to battle too. So it's going to be a really fun matchup to see who comes away with that starting nickel position and then how they play the other guys around them and get them on the field. Another third round pick, another best fit for me. Jalen McMillan out of Washington, had him as a best fit round 3 to 4 for the Bucs if they went wide receiver. 6'1", 197, 4.47, 40. He's a 4-year junior, redshirted his first year. He's the other Washington wide receiver after a guy like Rome Odunze and Jalen Polk. He worked mostly out of the slot, but he's got such a diverse route tree and knack for finding the open spot on the field. He finds it, sits it in zone, and can get there. He's strong to the catch point with strong hands. He's got an explosive release and is a willing blocker. Two things he's going to need to do. He still needs to show that he can hold up against more physical corners. He'll need to improve that he can stretch his routes vertically consistently. He finished his all 3 years with 164 in receptions, 2,143 yards, and 17 touchdowns. Last year, his production rivaled Rome Odunze, and he missed 4 games with a knee injury, and he probably would have, been over 1,000 yards for a second consecutive year. I spoke with one of those coaches, one of the offensive quality control guys. He's now the quarterback's coach for Alabama. And he said, if this guy stayed healthy, he's probably going, way earlier. He already went late third, probably early third, late second round for him. So steal of a pick for the Bucs. You talked to him after the draft. He's ready to go. He's ready to work. I think it's gonna be a great addition. He'll probably start at the Z instead of, moving right into the slot, even though he played most of his career there. Different kind of slot in NFL and college. So like I said, he's got to get a little bit stronger, his play strength a little bit. And that's going to happen in a year with strength and conditioning coaches with the Bucs. So, and then maybe we see him move into the slot next year to take over Godwin if he's not there, but a different player than Godwin for sure. But yeah, look for him to play the outside this season as he gets his feet wet competing. Caleb, what were your thoughts on Jalen McMillan as the pick here for the Bucs in the 3rd round?
Yeah, I mean, he went behind Odunze and Polk in the draft, but if you look at that semifinal game this past year against the University of Oregon, who was the best wide receiver on the field?
Yeah,
it was Jalen McMillan. So you're getting a real, high upside guy here. I think, your question marks, like JC mentioned, is he going to be able to hold up against press coverage, against more physical cornerbacks there in the NFL when it comes down to it? And then the other thing is he's not strong when he goes up for the catch, right? So it's very difficult there. He does have those long strides, though, that are going to be getting him open. But at the end of the day, is he kind of just a product of the wide open scheme that Washington was able to run? Or is he going to be able to translate what he did in it during his time in college over to the NFL? That's my biggest question mark with him. Other than that, he does possess a lot of what you want in a slot wide receiver, especially if CG does end up leaving next year. He can slide right back over there. But I like the pick overall there late in the 3rd round. So, Colin, what are your thoughts there, man?
Don't like it. I love it. I think it has the potential to be a steal. Yeah, I think there's some recency bias in terms of his evaluation because I tweeted out, I was reading through Thor Nystrom, who is one of the best draft analysts going, and he put out his draft grades. And in doing so, he focused specifically on, he crafted it like 20 games played together in terms of Washington receivers. Player A had 68 catches, 1,200 yards, and 9 TDs. Player B had 125 catches, almost 1,700 yards, and 14 TDs. Well, player B was Jalen McMillan, and player A was Jalen Polk, Jalen Polk went 55 spots before Jalen McMillan. Those numbers are over the past 2 seasons when they played together. 20 games played together. So that's a pretty significant disparity in terms of production. I think McMillan is smooth. I think he's crafty. I think he has the potential to fit in very nicely, learning from Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and compete with Trey Palmer. Like JC said, I don't think he's going to be strictly a slot. I don't think it's going to work that way. I think they're going to utilize Godwin there a lot. But there is versatility, and I'm very excited about this pick. I love the fit, and I think they got great value getting them where they did.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, like Caleb said, contested catches aren't his thing. He struggled with them, but when he's on the move, coming across the middle, he does got really strong hands in traffic, which is, I think would translate to catching it at the high point in the ball. But, they weren't done with the offense. They went offense first, back-to-back defense, then back to the offense, and finished out the rest of the draft on offense. But in the 4th round, they selected undersized running back Bucky Irving, 5'9", 192, 4.55 40. He's a junior, spent his first year at Minnesota before playing the last 2 years at Oregon. I didn't really have him high on my list because I thought the Bucs would look for a little more thunder to Rashaad's lightning. But they went with him. And, after diving back in, I really like the pick. This is a guy who I came around on real quick. Like Chris Braswell still took like a second, but Bucky Irving was quick. It was like, wow, this kid's going to be really good. He's got great contact balance, the ability to make defenders miss. Had 69 missed tackles last year for 743 yards after the contact. There he is, doing a Mario jump right there over defenders. He's got great vision and footwork, good burst, and is more than a capable receiver. 95 career receptions, 56 of them came last season. Again, he's undersized. He's not going to be a force in short yardage situations. He's not going to lower his shoulder and run over anybody. And he doesn't have great time speed, but he's got good play speed. He's quicker than fast out there in the field. Junior season, he finished it with 1,180 yards on the ground, 11 touchdowns, and those aforementioned 56 receptions for 413 yards. And 2 scores. I talked to his position coach, and surprisingly enough, with a guy like Bo Nix, with a guy like Troy Franklin in that room, he was a leader on offense. He was a guy that guys turned to in times of crises. He was a guy that turned to for inspiration. He was a leader by his work ethic and what he did on the field, but also a guy who's not afraid to pull someone aside and kind of say, hey, light a fire up under there. I don't think we can. We'll say but. Gotta be careful. I think he's going to be a great fit in the locker room. Great with a guy like Rashad White to pair as maybe like a lightning and lightning, but I think he'll be a good fit with them. Colin, we'll jump to you, and then we'll jump over to Caleb. And guys, I just want to say thank you for everyone tuning in. We're at almost 450 people on there. Keep climbing. We're supposed to end this pod a little earlier, but you guys are tuning in, so we're going to stick with you. So, Colin, go ahead. Tell us about what you think about Bucky Irving.
Yeah, I love what you said there. I mean, no one's actually afraid of thunder. It just makes a loud noise. Thunder means there's lightning. So I like lightning and lightning better anyway. Bucky Irving, man, he's one of the most elusive runners in the country. So he's got like a nasty spin move, jump cut, great vision, in addition to the contact balance. So I'm not going to bother breaking down all that stuff. A couple things you didn't mention that I found interesting. Only 1 career fumble across almost 490 carries. So there's some ball security for you. So big fan of that, first and foremost. And also he's got some kick returning experience dating back to his sophomore season. The fact that he's an elusive runner and sure, running back standards, he's a little smaller than some, but with the new kickoff rules, I wonder if we could be seeing him competing with Devin Tompkins or maybe even, returning kicks, because that's another aspect of his skill set I hadn't really considered for the Buccaneers. So I'm excited. Talking to Rashad White tonight, man, he seems all aboard, and he seems like he's going to be a great mentor for Bucky. I could see these two forming a really nice duo, and again, bringing in a Graham Barton and a guy we're going to talk about shortly, shoring up that offensive line is not going to hurt. Really like having another reliable runner. I think, Rashad White managed to stay pretty healthy last year, and the depth of that position group was a concern. You needed another body in there. Why not get the most elusive running back in the country?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys are like, oh, we like Braylon Allen. But you look at Bucky and you look at Braylon Allen, they play completely different. Like Braylon Allen's this big 6'1", 220. Bucky's barely 190 pounds, and he plays so much bigger. And he's got the hops too. I mean, bring that picture back up of him hurdling somebody. I mean, look. Oh, no, there we go, Mario. Back with it. I mean, he's just really elusive. And will do anything to not go down. And Caleb, what were your thoughts on this pick with Bucky Irving in the 4th round?
I'm gonna I have to eat my words, because when we did the pre-draft, when we did the pre-draft show, I was like, just stay away from him. Like, we don't need another Rashad White in the backfield. Go get you a Ray Davis. Go get you a Braylon Allen type guy that's gonna be able to bang down low. I was completely wrong in that, because you look at him paired with Rashad White, it's gonna be incredible to see those two kind of feed off of one another. And like you guys have mentioned, elusive. Very well balanced in his skill set. And I think the biggest term that comes to mind for me is a playmaker, right? Yeah. He makes plays. He might not be the fastest guy on the field. He might not be have the best acceleration, but the guy just makes plays when you need a play made. And that's what he did at the University of Oregon. And that's what, a guy like a Bo Nix needed, along with Troy Franklin, obviously. But they needed a guy like that coming out. So I think he came from the University of Minnesota before transferring over to Oregon. So awesome to see him kind of make that transition over to a higher, level, if you could say that, there in D1 football. So awesome to see him be able to produce at a higher level, like at Oregon, be able to make plays and be able to come in. And then, Colin, you make a great point with the new kickoff rules. That might have been, in the back of the mind there in the war room for the Bucs. So that's something to pay attention to moving forward, especially as we head into OTAs and training camp.
Yeah, and I'll leave you with two more thoughts on, one more thought, but 2 player comps that don't come from me. These come exactly from his Coach Lachlan, who Rashad White mentioned earlier in the podcast. He said that he reminds him of actually 3 guys: Kenneth Gainwell, Antonio Gibson, and Tony Pollard are 3 of the names that he coached that comes to mind when he thinks of a Bucky and what kind of player, what kind of athlete he can be.
I think 2 of those guys came from Memphis, didn't they?
They did. That sure did. Yep. So those are some comps that I was given by his coach. So if he can be anything like those guys, I think the Bucs are going to be in a great position, especially in the fourth.
Carlos Lachlan coached at Florida State with Mike Norvell, and then coached at Memphis with Mike Norvell before they moved over to Florida State, and then Lachlan moved to Oregon. So that makes a lot of sense why he would take. Look at
Caleb with the backstory there. Everything connects back to Florida State for Caleb somewhere somehow. But the next pick in the draft was, first of all, just a round of applause for Jason Light because he somehow managed to wait 95 picks from 125 all the way to 220. I don't know how he did it. We were like, come on, do something. We were like poking with a stick. Do something, Jason. This is getting, and the whole room in the media room at One Buck Place or Advent Health Training Center, whatever you're calling it nowadays, the energy was shot. We were just like, we were so like, nodding off, like, when's the next pick? Can he just trade all of his picks up now so he can get out of here? But then he made his selection. They went sexy again, right? And if you don't get that, I'll explain it in a minute. But they went with offensive guard Elijah Klein from UTEP at pick 220, 6'3", 306, 5'3", 240, 6-year senior. I wrote about him. He's got the size and length, team covet for an interior lineman, excels in zone, which is what the Bucs' new scheme is going to primarily be. Has tremendous football IQ, displays great technique and footwork, is an efficient moving in space, climbing to the next level and pulling, looks to knock someone's head off. However, he can get a little upright in his stance, doesn't have elite athleticism, and is a better run blocker right now, needs polishing and protection, and will need to work on his quick adjustments moving inside on passing off defenders. So when he's inside playing in the phone booth, just being able to pass guys off a little bit more, as he doesn't do that currently at left. Playing on the right side. But yeah, I think he's going to be a guy who's going to come in here and in my opinion, compete, right? I think he's going to compete for that left guard spot. We went and interviewed him. He told us he's a nasty guy, aggressive guy, violent guy, grimy guy that just wants to put his head down and hit somebody. He's from a small school. You add all those up, but that doesn't sound like a Jason Light lineman. I don't know who does. I spoke to his position coach because why wouldn't I, right? And 2 of the things he told me, one thing was like super impressive. So he came in as a true freshman. He ended up having to start 4 games down the season because as a true freshman, you can only start 4 games and keep your redshirt year. But he ended up having to start 4 games. But before that, they went to training camp. They used to go down to New Mexico. And he actually learned the entire offense in 2 days, knew it front to back. That's crazy for an 18-year-old freshman to come in and learn an entire complex offense such as the zone. And they ran everything. They ran, gap, they ran duo, they ran all that stuff. And he learned in the entire 2 days by using flashcards in his room. Go after practice, after lifting, he would just learn that. Teach him the offense. So he was a guy who clearly high football IQ. I'll get into a couple other things, but I want to hear from Colin first. What your thoughts are for this pick right here, and what do you think is his role on this Bucs team? Do you think he can compete right away?
First off, I'm an honest guy, and as an honest guy, I'll tell you, I didn't know a whole lot about Elijah Klein coming into this draft. That being said, I have had the opportunity to read about him, check out some of his stuff, and listen to people with more specific opinions on the player. And what I like is that he's a run game specialist. He's considered to be a well above average blocker in that phase of the game. And the fact that he has the intelligence to, and desire to learn, I think he's going to fit in really nicely. But I think it's going to fit in with Liam Cohen's system because he wants to run the ball. He said as much, and we've heard it from Todd Bowles the last 3 seasons. So we know the Bucs want to establish the run. Whether or not I think he could compete to start, yeah, I think he could compete because there's a huge hole there still, right? The Bucs did a great job addressing needs in this draft. They waited it out, like you said, no trades. You can have a full slate of picks next year, so that'll be nice at that time. But he also managed Jason Light to use those picks to fill as many needs as he could. That said, you can't fill them all, and left guard remains a bit of a vacancy. So they're going to have a bit of an open competition. So does he have a shot? Absolutely. We'll see what the kid's got in training camp. I mean, but based on what I'm hearing, and JC, man, shout out to you, dude. Like, the fact that you've talked to all these draft picks position coaches already is amazing insight. We're lucky to have you here at Bucs Game Day. So that's just like the kind of information you're not going to hear elsewhere. But yes, he has a chance to compete. We'll see what he brings. I heard you talking with Josh Capo. Josh Capo was impressed with his ability to move in space a little bit.
Yeah.
So obviously he's got some other skills that don't make him exclusively a run blocker. I know that you also mentioned he graded it really well as a pass blocker in PFF, like one of the like absurdly high. Is that right, JC?
Yeah. I'll drop that right now. So out of 2024 draft eligible guards that played in college last year, he finished in 7th with total offensive grade at an 82.5. You look at his overall pass blocking grade, it was number 1 out of 588 eligible guards with a 93.5, and his run blocking grade finished 14th out of 569 eligible guards at 17.9. That's per PFF. So yeah, I mean, he had and even if you look at it in 2022, his overall grade was a 77.4. 2021, 76.3. So all in the plus there. Anything or in the 60s is really good for an offensive lineman. So all in the plus there, which was really good. You see the balance of running snaps and passing snaps that he had. If you've got the PFF premium stats, you can kind of see everything how he did. And his passing snaps and running snaps are very easily even. 385 running snaps, 372 passing snaps. So there wasn't a high variance in one way or the other. So yeah, I think he's going to be a guy who can come in a little underrated as far as a pass blocker, because he's such a good run blocker, but he's a guy who can give you exactly what you need. And I think, again, the speed is something you look at him. He's not super athletic, but if Graham Barton's playing center and Trisha Wirfs is playing left tackle, you can hide some of those deficiencies there with him, playing in the phone booth that he'll be playing. Caleb, what were your thoughts on this pick? Obviously, kind of took all of us by surprise. To be honest with you guys, I got this pick before it was announced. And I was like, Klein. I was like, who the heck is Klein? Like, I'm looking everywhere, because if you look at the Beast, he's rated like he doesn't have a write-up. He's as a priority free agent guy. So, the Bucs kind of reached, but if you look at, again, a guy like Brandon Thorne had a 5th round grade on him. So to each their own, not everyone's going to have the same rankings on him, but I was like, who the heck is this guy? So I didn't get the tweet out first, but I did have him in the media room. I'm like, it's Klein. So it was funny. And we just hit 500 people watching right now. So thank you guys. Thanks to Bucs Nation for joining in on us. If you're just tuning in now, definitely go back and watch our interview with Rashad White, because that was fire. But Caleb, your thoughts on Elijah Klein?
You guys nailed it. I think he was kind of a late 7th round undrafted guy is where everybody really had him at. So going into the 6th round, getting him is kind of like a question mark, really. But when you look at his tape and you look at his grades and his size and the amount of starts he has, dude has 55 starts in his collegiate career.
Right.
He's got that experience, which is something that you really value coming into the NFL. He's NFL ready. It looks like he does kind of get stood up at moments, especially when you have those next level, like pro athletic interior guys coming inside on him might become a bit of an issue. But that is something you can work on, because just like JC and Colin mentioned, his technique is extremely, extremely good. And when your footwork and your technique come together, that really can create a lethal combination at the level, as long as you get it right. And he also has great hand placement. You see where he puts his hands on defenders when they're trying to rush him. So Guy has a lot of tools to come in and push for a job right away. We'll see if he can do it, because there are openings along this Bucs offensive line, and they clearly need help to build upon whatever that run game was last year. So I'm excited to see what he does.
So I got two more things on Elijah Klein, and we'll move to the final pick. And if we have time, we'll touch on some of the undrafted guys. I don't know how much you guys know about them, but Elijah Klein, two final things. So during the week of preparation during the season, the coaches would assign all the offensive linemen a guy to study, right? So this is your defensive tackle, this is your DN, this is your whatever. Later in the week on Thursday, they'd have to do a presentation on this guy. Okay, here's what his moves are. Here's how he sets up his pass rush plan. Here's this. He said when Elijah was up there, it was like a coach was giving the presentation. He was very detail oriented, broke down everything so that everyone understood what this guy was going to do at any given time in the game, and it really helped the offensive lineman. You see that he's got there's two other offensive linemen that are actually in camps. He's the only one that was drafted, but there's two other UTEP offensive linemen who will be in camps this week. And part of the coach said part of why they were so better, so good, so much better in college was because of Elijah's leadership and his preparation, and everyone kind of fell in line. So it was just something you're like, oh wow, this is a huge story. Kind of about the type of leader he is, whether it's by example or whether it's, pulling some guy aside and kicking him in the ass to, kind of like, get him jump started. So another story, his assistant offensive line, that's how deep I go. Assistant offensive line position coach actually played football with Alex Kappa at Humboldt. And he said that when I coached Elijah, he reminds me so much of Alex Kappa, just the way he plays the game. And if you look at the situation where they are now, Alex Kappa turned out to be one of the great Bucs offensive linemen, right? He got the bag. He struggled a little bit his first year, then he kind of settled in and finished out his contract and got a big payday. So if he can be anything like Alex Kappa, who actually FaceTimed him and talked to him, gave him some pointers and tips and stuff like that before he was to the Bucs. So I'm sure he'll talk to him again. I think that's a great comparison to have and a great guy to kind of have in your ear talking to. So we're just hit 550 on here, guys. If you're watching on Twitter, make sure you give us a like there. And if you're watching on Twitter, hop over to YouTube, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. We want to thank the people out here. Give us a follow at JC Allen NFL, at CHS Knoll, at SI Buccaneer _Buccaneers. Give us a follow. We're bringing you guys heat as content over at Bucs Game Day. So definitely check us out there. And these podcasts are going to be rocking and rolling. We're going to have more players, maybe some coaches, all sorts of stuff on there. But to finish out the draft, we're going to go to the last pick in the draft here for the Bucs at 7. In the 7th round at 246, they went back to Washington. Surprise, surprise. And part of me wonders if this is going to be like the last year they really hit Washington hard, because the entire staff pretty much is now in Alabama. So will we see more Bama guys maybe in the next couple, because they really like the program and how the head coach runs everything down there. So, but Devin Culp, tight end out of Washington, 6'3", 231, 4.47 40, 6-year senior, was the fastest tight end in the draft. Can absolutely boogie. We talked to Liam Cohen earlier in the offseason. He mentioned the possibility of a move tight end being something that they'd like to see in this offense, similar to what they had in LA with Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett. Now, I mean, it's a far cry to say that Devin Culp is going to be him, given his production in school. But what I do like about him is he's like a big wide receiver out there. He has excellent speed, the ability to elevate to make contested catches. He runs pretty sharp routes with crisp cuts and gets consistent separation from defenders. Again, he's more of a big wide receiver. So you're asking the inline block, it's not going to be pretty. But if you're asking him to block on screens out in space, pulling, he can certainly do that. He's got to get bigger, stronger. But he certainly has the speed to be a mismatch nightmare on the outside. If they can get him up on linebackers in the slot or even outside, at out far outside and lined up, so they'll have some things. But again, trouble holding up his blocking in line. He's a 24-year-old rookie. He's had some really bad drops throughout his career. The drop percentage is not pretty. But 66 receptions, 711 yards, 4 touchdowns. He didn't have any production the first 3 years of his time there, but he did have a formal interview with the Bucs, so he was on their radar. He wasn't on my radar as a fit, but he was someone that I did do a write-up on. Again, I did do write-ups on everybody, just guys who I thought maybe the Bucs would be interested in. So to see him pick that in the 7th round wasn't a shocker. Again, another Husky. Colin, what were your thoughts on him?
I mean, that late in the draft, if you're going to take the fastest tight end available, I mean, I have no issue with that, right? Like, sure, you mentioned some issues, some drops, stuff like that, not a ton of production at Washington. Well, that tells me the arrow's only pointing up from here. So, we'll see what can happen at the next level. There's lots of tight ends who can't block in the NFL. Let's not forget that, right? You're not drafting a tight end to do everything. That's rare. Finding a George Kittle, that's just not common. So if he's a specialist, he's going to be able to open things up for other guys. He's going to be able to burn a linebacker here and there on a vertical route. Then I'm all for it. So who knows? Maybe he can find a way to fit in, find a role for himself in Liam Cohen's offense. But you're taking a stab at that point of the draft. Why not take a stab on a guy with elite speed for that position?
Yeah, I agree. And you kind of hit the nail on the head there, right? Not every tight end is a traditional wide tight end who can block and catch. Look at Mike Gesicki, right? He's had a pretty good career and he can't block worth the lick of damn. So, you're bringing a guy like him. And there's another guy, that got drafted a little earlier than him, the FSU guy, Raheem Bell, who's not really a great blocker, but is a great, F move wide tight end. Not wide, F tight end who can be moved all over the lineup in there. And that's what Devin Culp's going to be. Caleb, what were your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, I mean, University of Washington, right? So how are you supposed to get your tight end the ball? You tell me, you tell me how to do that. So that's a lot of under crossing routes that you're not really going to see the ball when you've got 2 or 3 guys who can stretch the field vertically. So for him, he can get vertical, which is fantastic because of that speed and is able to. But you're right, JC, he's going to slot into that F tight end spot, not be a complete tight end sort of guy. The blocking's an issue. The drops are very, very bad and very consistent, which is going to be something that he needs to pick up on. But he makes up for it with some crazy, as JC likes to say, butt catches. So go turn on this guy's film. You'll be, pleasantly surprised with what you see with some of his acrobatic catches. So he'll be fun to watch. We'll see what kind of role he's able to carve out with the Bucs in 24. But you take a flyer here, and I like the move overall.
Yeah, and just to kind of wrap up, I'll throw out a couple of undrafted free agents to watch out for, and then we'll wrap this sucker up. I want to thank everyone for tuning in for sure. 576 people watching right now. That's awesome. We appreciate everyone here. Again, if you're watching on Twitter, head over to YouTube, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Give us all a follow. Follow Bucs Game Day if you're not already, because you should be. But I think when you look at some of the guys, Kalen DeLoach at FSU, I know Caleb's very familiar. He just had an article up about Kalen DeLoach at Bucs Game Day, so go check that out. Judge Culpepper is another guy I'd keep an eye on as a defensive tackle. And some of these other guys, Chris McDonald, I mentioned him earlier in the safety, Rashad Wisdom. Those are some guys I think to keep an eye on as potential guys who can make some noise as undrafted free agents. But we'll kick this back over to Colin, who'll wrap up the show. Guys, again, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Rashad White. And Colin, take it away.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. Just getting started here with Hear the Cannon. So super excited. We stretched this thing. I shouldn't say stretch, but we couldn't stop this thing from getting to an hour and 30 minutes, over a third of which was featuring the Tampa Bay Buccaneers starting running back, Rashad White. So heck of an episode, heck of a start to this podcast. Make sure, like JC said, you're following us on YouTube, like, subscribe, turn those notifications on. Follow Caleb at CHS Knoll. Follow JC at JC Allen NFL. Follow myself at SI_Buccaneers. And make sure you are checking out Bucks Game Day on the regular for all of your Tampa Bay Buccaneers needs all year round. So until next time, thanks for joining us. Have a good one.